in that case, I'm going to go to our second topic, which is Task Scheduler, and how can you use Task Scheduler and what does it have available to you? So if you guys haven't seen before, Task Scheduler is a tool within SOLIDWORKS. So if you go to your Start menu, and go to SOLIDWORKS Tools, you have an option for the SOLIDWORKS Task Scheduler right here. And this will allow you to open up a pane that looks like this. And let me get that open for you guys. So this is the SOLIDWORKS Task Scheduler, and it actually allows you to complete a lot of different tasks automatically within SOLIDWORKS. And I'm going to show you an example of just a few of these. So the first one is convert files. So this is used if you want to convert files from, let's say, 2016 up to 2019 or 20 if you're going through and doing an upgrade. I'm going to give you a little caveat here. If you're using PDM, there's a separate file converter that you're going to want to use. But if you are using just normal SOLIDWORKS without PDM integration, you can use this to upgrade your files to the newest version. So if I want to pick a file, I'm going to add a folder in here. It's going to think for a second. And I actually have on my desktop the Essentials files from 2016. So I'm just going to pick the Lesson 1 folder. I want to convert the files that were in Lesson 1. These are 2016 files. So I want to add all of those into it. Under Advanced, I want to include the subfolder so it gets all the files in there. I have a timeout. I have a place where the logs are going to go for this, and I can run minimized or maximized. I'm going to not run it minimized so you guys can see what happens. It's only going to occur once. I could schedule these to occur daily, weekly, monthly. Not something you'd want with a convert, but we'll see later on some reasons you might want to have this here. And it's converting anything that's a SOLIDWORKS part, assembly, or drawing in this Lesson 1 folder. I can go into my options. And I just have some different saving up options for, like, example, if I have a pre-2003 drawing, what to do about missing reference, things like that. I can hit Finish. And SOLIDWORKS Task Schedule actually put this task in what's called my queue. So this right here is my queue. And it says I have a task called Convert Files scheduled. And you'll see right here, SOLIDWORKS is starting to appear. And since I used the 2019 task scheduler, it's upgrading it to 2019. And I can see that happening right now. So I can see it going through those files and upgrading them. And even though I have SOLIDWORKS open, it's still going through and upgrading those files, even though I had other files open in SOLIDWORKS. And if I wanted to, if I had a lot of tasks, I could print the list. But you'll notice after I got the first file, it did this subtask generated. What that does is it tells me all of the files that were in this folder. So there are 5 different files in this folder and the progress of those files. So it was able to upgrade the first 3 files. It's in the progress for the 4th one, and the 5th one is still being scheduled. And also, if I had a lot of different task computers, I could schedule this out to run on a different computer if I wanted to. But I'm just going to let SOLIDWORKS do its thing right now. And while that's happening, I can even look through these different tasks. And so what I'm going to talk about now, while we're waiting for that task to complete, I'm going to talk about the Upgrade Assistant. Now, what the Upgrade Assistant does is it looks at files and if you guys have ever noticed, sometimes when you upgrade from one version to another, there's little discrepancies that happen between the files. What this upgrade assistance has, it actually compares files if they're being upgraded between two different versions, and it allows you to make sure that nothing detrimental is going to happen to a file set. So if you know some files that in the past have had issues with upgrading, you can run this here. What I'm going to do, I notice that these all finished. So this task is finished. I'm going to start an upgrade assistant task. So I'm going to say I want to check if from 2018 to 2019 there's any difference in this specific file. So let me go to lesson 2, case study, and this plate right here. And I want to see if it opens any differently between 2018 and 2019. So I hit finish. My upgrade assistant is right there and it says it's scheduled. I have SOLIDWORKS appearing in the front here. Gonna let it think for a little bit again. Notice it still opens the file, but if you notice there, it opened it in 2 different versions. I have the upgrade assistance task right there. So now it's opening it in 2019. And it has a list of subtasks, so it opens it in 2018. It opens it in 2019, which is still in progress. And it's opened up the plate part. Let's check some qualities. I'm going to show you what qualities it checks here. So it's in progress. It's about to be done. Just as a warning, there is going to be a little bit of waiting around on this one just because we do have to wait for SOLIDWORKS to open files and close them. Trying to hit a good balance of waiting time versus actually getting you guys to see the demo. So just letting you know about that. I'm actually going to close these other files since I'm done with them just to help expedite that process. Also, a little bit of a quirk here. I know it's a 0 of 5, but you'll notice that they're all completed. It just didn't update right there for some reason. All right, both of these are completed. And I want to see what the results of that were. Let me shut this down real quick. There we go. So I've got this shut down. And with my completed task here, what it does is it compares things like the middle point and different places within the file. And once it's done with that, I can either create a zip or not. I'm going to hit no, and it opens up this file right here comparing, for example, so this was 100% success, but what it does is it compares things like the midpoint, it compares the weight, it compares different things about the file to test whether the same exact file opened between here and here, and then it's able to tell me whether or not it failed or succeeded. And that's a good way to check that your files are going to update properly between different versions. All right. The next task we have is the Update Files option and the Update Files with associated references. So, go here again. The Update Files with associated references is a lot like the Convert Files, but what's nice about this one is it will actually, if you're opening an assembly and your assemblies are in a different folder than those files, it'll actually go and find the files. That way, if one file gets updated, all of them get updated there. So you need a search pass to a assembly name and it will find all of the associated files there. So let's say if I go back to my desktop, I have that there and hit next. It will find the associated files. Also, if I want to print files, so if I wanted to print drawings to PDFs or something, this I have the ability to there. I'm not going to show you guys how that works. You guys know how files save as PDF works, but it basically allows you to do it for a whole folder. And this is one that I see people schedule. So if I wanted to print this whole folder, but I only wanted to do it, like maybe I have people put files in here and after they get printed, we move them out the next week. And I've seen people do that where they have a process where this folder, any file in here gets printed to a PDF once a day or once a week. And that's how they keep up with printing their PDFs without having to make it a more of a manual process. And you can pick what types of files. So for instance, right now it's saying all types. I just want SLD DRWs, and I can pick which PDF creator, and I can pick where the files end up going. So I can pick that they either go to the original file, or I can pick a different folder. So maybe I have a folder called PDFs that I want this to go into. All right. Import files. So this one will allow you, if you have files that are coming from a different version, you can actually import them and convert them over to SOLIDWORKS file types. So for example, if I'm going to add some files here because I have a folder of some STP files. So all of the files in here are STP files. And they're going to print them into the same folder, but they're going to convert these all into SOLIDWORKS files. So I hit finish, and it's scheduled here, and it's going to pull up SOLIDWORKS just the same as it did before. I notice it's still working in 19.3 because I opened up the task scheduler in 19. I'm going to show you guys that folder while we're waiting for SOLIDWORKS. So I have all of these STP files. See how it loads the model. Opens all of those guys, and I can see it actually opening the files with the names that I said earlier. and it figured out the amount of tasks and is completing those as we speak, and I can actually see those files getting created. So now look at, I have an arrow as a part and the arrow as a step, and I can see those going through and getting created. And it looks like it did the last one. And in the same way, I can do the reverse, and I can export files out to different file types, whether that be a step file or a parasolid. Just a note on which file types work the best with SOLIDWORKS. If you can, and whoever you're exporting it to can open these, I always suggest opening a parasolid file. They do work the best. But you can export them out to many different files, including a 3D PDF. And if you guys have never played around with those, they're pretty cool files. I'm not going to show you live just because the live demo does take a while, but it's pretty basically just the reverse of what we just did there. Another thing you can do is if you have a custom property that needs to be updated, rather than going in and editing it on each file, so I'm going to go back here, go into this folder. Next, I can pick a custom properties. I wanted it to be like, wanted to add a custom property named project. It's a text and be lesson, I believe I picked 2. What this would do is it would put a SOLIDWORKS custom property of lesson 2 into each of those files, and this is scheduled right now. It'll be completed, but I want to keep going while we let that happen. You can create drawings. So if I have a load of assemblies I want to create actual drawings from using a drawing template, I have a previous straight from support of how to add preloaded views. And if you haven't seen that, it's a really great video, or I can do it again in the future since it's probably a year and a half old. But you can create drawings automatically from parts and assemblies, or convert those drawing views to high quality. And the last one I really wanted to get to is this run custom task, because this is pretty cool if you guys have ever messed around with the macros in SOLIDWORKS. So if you guys have ever messed around with the macros, this can be used in order to create, in this situation, I have a macro that I have, and this is on the help files, but I have the sample drawing, and I have this macro that can be used in order to make it into a DXF, which I know could be done with a convert, but it's a pretty simple drawing file. So I can convert drawing type files into DXFs using this macro that was created for SOLIDWORKS. If you guys want some example files, there are a lot of great examples on help.solidworks, or you can give us a call, or there's just a lot of stuff in the macro libraries for SOLIDWORKS. But basically, I want to convert this SOLIDWORKS drawing into a DXF. So I locate the macro. It is in this file. It's an SWB file type. And as soon as I pull it in, I'm going to open up that file again because it has some parameters. So it looks for anything that has this $sign, $sign. And these are like the variables that need to be filled out. So it wants a working directory. So the working directory is going to be that run macro location. The task file type is going to be an SW drawing. The working directory is going to be that run macro location. The file path name is going to be this location slash the file name. And then the file name is just going to be the file name. And I hit finish. It's currently scheduled. But what I can see is, so here's the error log for that. And I can click into this and see as the task happens what goes through, and eventually it will create a DXF for this file by opening it up in SOLIDWORKS and closing it. And we just created this. This actually macro is available on the SOLIDWORKS help when you ask about how to do macros in Task Scheduler. So if you guys want to test that out and play with it yourself, you're more than welcome to. All right. The last few are just create e-drawings. So if you wanted to convert your SOLIDWORKS part into e-drawings files, rather than using the convert tabs, you just use this one. You have update simulation. So rather than having to open all the simulation files yourself, you can go through there. And then I'm actually going to do design checker and some animation stuff in later straight from support episodes, because those get a little bit more complex regarding the setup and creation of those files. And my custom task says it's completed. And I see my DXF got created right here. So I know my task ran correctly and it didn't log any errors. All right, guys, so on this one we just learned how to use SOLIDWORKS Task Scheduler and all the different tasks that we can use it for. Like I said, I didn't get to these last two because I want to cover them or these last three because I want to cover them in a future version of Straight from Support. But if you guys have any questions, go ahead and feel free to ask right now. No questions on any of these topics or any other topics going through? Okay, as always, thank you guys for joining Straight from Support. My name's Heather. I will see you next month. So that's going to be December 18th. So I will see you then for Straight from Support. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.